In this episode, surfing legend Mick Fanning is struck on his board by a great white shark during a surfing competition. He tumbles into the water, being dragged downwards by his ankle. Over the next horrifying seconds, the crowd on the shore and millions watching at home are left wondering if they have just witnessed the world champion's final moments as he is shielded from view by an enormous wave. Behind the wave, Mick is fighting for his life. This is his story. Mick Fanning, a really good surfer who won the big surfing competition 3 times, might have done his last surf on July 19, 2015. He was in a contest called the J-Bay Open, which is part of a bunch of surfing competitions around the world. This one happened at a cool place called Jeffreys Bay in South Africa. Lots of people love going there because the waves are awesome, and you can see whales, which is pretty cool. In the final match of the contest, Mick was up against Julian Wilson, another pro surfer from Australia. The whole thing was on TV, and even Mick's mom was watching from Australia. That's a long way from South Africa. When Mick was out there in the water, looking for a good wave to win, something scary happened. People watching saw a fin poking out of the water super close to Mick. At first, Mick didn't realize how much danger he was in. He was focused on finding the right wave to win. He's been surfing since he was a little kid, so handling pressure was kind of his thing. He knew sharks could be around, but he never really thought he'd come face to face with one. It's super rare for that to happen to anyone, but when you're in the ocean, you're in the shark's home turf. It must have been pretty nerve-wracking for Mick, but luckily nothing bad happened. He stayed safe, and people were really relieved. It was a crazy moment that got everyone talking about how wild the ocean can be, even for someone as experienced as Mick. During the competition, Mick Fanning was feeling great. He was excited about how well he was doing. Everything seemed to be coming together at the right time. As he rode down the barrels, his body felt strong and in sync with the waves. However, in the midst of this thrilling performance, a sudden and terrifying event unfolded that could have changed everything for the 3-time surfing world champion. Just 2 minutes into his final run of the J-Bay Open, a major event on the World Surf League Champion Tour, Mick's excitement turned into a fight for survival. While lying face down on his board, scanning the ocean for the next wave, a shark emerged from his side, aggressively heading straight for him. The spectators noticed the dorsal fin breaking the surface of the water, and Mick saw it just a split second later. The adrenaline kicked in, but before he could react, the shark collided with his surfboard, its teeth catching on the cord attached to Mick's ankle. Caught off guard, Mick scrambled on his board, desperately trying to stay out of the water. He kicked and pulled with all his strength, realizing the severity of the situation as the shark thrashed around, its pectoral fin visible just below the surface.
Like it kicked me off, but then it was still there going and I was still attached to my board and I felt like I punched it a couple of times.
In those tense moments, Mick's mother, watching from Australia's Gold Coast, feared the worst. Having already lost one son in a car accident 17 years ago, she couldn't bear the thought of losing another.
I just immediately felt my heart go boom, and I was just stunned. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then when that wave came and we couldn't see him, I definitely thought he'd gone.
As Mick was pulled from his board and disappeared underwater, a large wave rolled in, blocking the view of the spectators. The atmosphere was tense. Nobody knew what had happened to Mick or if they would see him again. The fear lingered as the wave dissipated, revealing the aftermath of the encounter with the shark. In those agonizing seconds, the world wondered if they had just witnessed the demise of one of the greatest surfers of all time in the jaws of a great white shark. Mick's fate hung in the balance, and the collective breath of spectators and viewers around the globe was held in suspense. The ocean, which had moments ago been the stage for a surfing competition, now held a much more profound and frightening story. One of survival against the odds in the face of nature's relentless power. Hidden from the onlookers behind a big wave, Mick was in a fierce struggle. The shark had knocked him off his surfboard and into the water. Stunned and just a few feet from his board, Mick saw the shark circling back toward him. In those split seconds, the shark swiftly passed by Mick in the water, almost brushing against him. Mick reacted instinctively, throwing a powerful punch at the shark's side between its dorsal fin and pectoral fin. The force of the punch broke the ankle cord, freeing Mick from his surfboard. Now without his board, Mick had to swim for his life. He knew he couldn't catch a wave without it, so he swam as fast as he could, desperately trying to reach the shore where a concerned crowd awaited. The shark sirens blared across the bay, adding to the chaotic scene. Suddenly, Mick halted. a heart-stopping realization hit him. He couldn't outswim a shark. If the shark was pursuing him, it would likely attack from behind, catching him off guard. Mick understood that at any moment, the shark could be closing in on him, and he wouldn't see it coming. Instead of continuing to flee, Mick made a bold decision. He turned to face the predator. By doing so, he hoped to increase his chances of spotting the shark before it launched an attack. Mick could see his feet just below the water's surface, but beyond that, his visibility was limited. He understood that he had a short amount of time to react if the shark approached from just a few feet away. Struggling to stay as high in the water as possible, Mick aimed to give himself the best chance of spotting the shark before it could strike. The tension was palpable as he waited for the next move of the powerful ocean predator. In those scary moments when Mick was in the water, hoping the shark was done with him, he felt really alone. Even though millions of people were watching worldwide and a big crowd was on the beach, Mick never felt so lonely. Luckily, help was on the way. Mick's friend, Julian Wilson, paddled quickly towards him, but the rescue jet skis and boats reached Mick first. They rushed to him, grabbed him and Julian, and pulled them onto the jet skis and then onto the safety speedboat. Mick was taken back to the shore in a hurry. The intense feeling of excitement and fear Mick had been feeling started to wear off. When he got back to dry land and met up with his friends, who were all teary-eyed, the shock of what had just happened began to hit him. It was an emotional end to a very long day. The competition was canceled, and Mick went back to his base to think about everything that had occurred. He fired up the barbecue and had a few beers with his friends. They celebrated his survival, creating a kind of gathering that felt like a wake, but with Mick there. But things could have turned out very differently. Mick flew back to Australia the next day. He went straight to visit his mother, and their reunion was emotional. It took him less than a week to get back into the water. Mick was still shaken from his experience, but he believed that if he didn't confront his fear and get back in the waves, the shark would have won. He wanted to show that he wasn't going to let one terrifying incident keep him from doing what he loved. After the shark incident, Mick felt determined to return to the water quickly. If he didn't, he knew he might never get back in. Surfing was everything to him, and he didn't want his career to end like that. Surprisingly, on his first surf after the attack, he saw a fin not far away. He rushed back to shore where his mom was waiting. Mick struggled with nightmares for some time afterward. He admits that going into the water now brings a fear of the unknown. You can't predict something like that. It catches you off guard. His mom was worried but supportive of him going back. Mick mentioned he'll be more cautious now, always checking behind him when he's out there in the waves. If you liked this story, do subscribe to our channel for more. Thank you for watching.